Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Savannah Humoller, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And it is time for a Tuesday edition of Mick Shots. And I'm going to start with one thing on my mind. You can have an MVP at quarterback, but if you have an MVS at wide receiver who can't catch a football, then, oh, brother. You can have the greatest quarterback of all time, but you better have receivers and a tight end, by the way, who can catch the football. And I'm off my soapbox.
Just goes back to my philosophy about the NFL, that the NFL helps those who help themselves. And don't rely on anybody else to do you any favors.
Okay. So, the task is at hand for this Cowboys team. Take it upon yourself to make up the ground, because you can't depend on the Dallas Texans to do it for you.
Well,
that's a good one.
I want to know.
A little history lesson there.
The amazing thing is, how have the Chiefs won 7 games with that receiving core?
That lets you know how good Pat is.
Wild.
That's how good Patrick is.
Yep.
Unbelievable. It's like I had to go, this Watson guy, I was thinking, well, that was the guy Bill liked in the draft.
No, that's Christian Watson, who
That's
scored 3
Christian.
touchdowns against the
Right.
Cowboys last year.
Yeah, and I'm going, no, that's not him. That's somebody else. And I had to look him up, and it's like he was the only one they were throwing passes to.
Well, he was the only one that was catching them, and he dropped
And then
one,
he
too.
dropped
Yeah.
a couple.
Right.
Golly.
So then now Taylor Swift is not good for Travis Kelce.
Well, she wasn't there, and
She
so
wasn't
that's
there.
why he was dropping
so this
passes
is
and
stats
fumbling
round.
This
in
is
the red
status quo
zone.
then.
and
Status
stuff.
quo then.
He wasn't concentrating as much as he needed to.
He needed to hear her in his ears.
Two turnovers inside the, 15? Was it?
Well,
You know, you can talk
At
about
least the 20.
You can talk about that all you want. It comes down to one play.
Yeah.
It just comes down to one play. You know, I've been a victim of that as well, and you got to take ownership of that. You got to catch the damn ball, dude. You just got to catch the
He
ball.
couldn't have placed it in his hands
I don't
any
know
better,
what
right?
he want. You know, I mean, it was a ball that had to be a difficult catch.
It
The
was
throw
diving,
made it
yep.
easier than what it should have been. I mean, he actually threw him open. So, I don't know, man. That was a tough one.
Actually, it came down to 2 plays because I was sitting there the whole time going, well, number one, Kansas City's not going to win this game 17-14. And number two, at some point, the Eagles are going to make a big play, a big passing play down the field. And they did.
They did.
And that's all they needed because they got to the 1 yard line.
And they take matters into their own hands at the 1 yard line.
So you have a secondary that finally did something that really is as simple as Belichick always tries to make it. And that is, if you have someone that's kicking your butt week in and week out and having a great year, week in and week out, let's just stop him from making plays. You know, let's just stop this guy from making plays. So you got Kelce, okay? Almost triple teamed him on some plays. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to make sure that he's not the guy. You're going to have to do something else. I don't know why every week we don't just say, okay, he's not going to do, this guy is not going to be the guy. He's not going to be the one that's going to beat us. And once you do that, you cause the team to go another route. That's all. You don't want to make it comfortable for them, you know, to beat you. You don't want to give them an excuse or ways to beat you. You want to just take that away. And then let's see what you have left. And obviously, they don't have that much left.
I mean, if you look at the stats from that game, the Chiefs beat the Eagles almost in every category on offense.
First downs, 23-16. Third down efficiency, they were 8 for 17. The Eagles were 3 for 11.
Keep going.
Total yards, the Chiefs had 336. The Eagles had 238.
238.
Total yards. Passing yards was 177 to 150. Rushing yards 168 to 114, all in favor of Kansas City.
And he got sacked.
Turnovers.
How many times he got sacked?
Turnovers.
Patrick?
Kansas City had 2. Philly had 1.
No, Jalen
Hurts,
Hurts.
how many times was he sacked?
Like 6 at least.
Let's see. Where are my sacks on here? Where are my sacks go?
It should be right there with all
There
the
it should
stuff.
be with everything else. I'm
Where's
not
those
on
passing
the
yards?
sacks. Here we go. 5 times
5
Hurts
times.
was sacked and Mahomes was sacked once.
That's crazy.
But you hit the one stat that counted: 2 turnovers to 1.
How about yards per attempt? The Chiefs had 3.8 yards per attempt, but the Eagles weren't much better. They were 4.6 yards per attempt. That's
Now, the-
really
the
bad.
Eagles-
And think about it, because 2 of the passes to Dante Smith were like 30
Devontae.
and like 30 and 50 yards.
Yeah.
Take those away, and
Yeah.
Oh, they were looking pretty bad before those 2 plays.
But you knew what was coming. You just knew it, that they were going to complete a big play, and that was going to be the ball game.
So this is a secondary that Prescott torched, right? This Eagles secondary. Yeah, he torched them. We should have won the game, except for we know what happened. So now you have Kansas City going against the same secondary, and I really didn't see Mahomes doing the things that I expected him to do in this game. I thought for sure that he was going to light them up, and even with the drop passes, they still, did pretty well. But it's the interceptions, it's the fumbles that caused everything. So how good do you feel
by the way,
Philly?
by the way, along those lines, how about give credit to the Eagles in this respect? And they've shut out Kansas City in the second half of that game. Kansas City did not score, but what they have done in their secondary, Kevin Byard had an interception in that game last night, and they acquired him October 23rd, just prior to playing the Cowboys. And Bradley Roby is the one who did the Peanut Tillman and punched the ball out on Kelsey in the inside the 10-yard line, and they picked him up on October 3rd from New Orleans.
When we played against them, I wasn't impressed with any of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was not impressed with any of those guys that they signed. They didn't make any plays on us. We made the plays against ourselves. I don't mind going to Philly. I said it after we lost in Philly. I don't mind. Philly does not scare me.
Compare our receiving core to what the Chiefs have.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're better receiving core.
By a long shot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mickey's shaking his head.
And
for those
also,
not watching.
put a roof on your damn stadium. You're going to have a big critical game like that, and it's raining, and it's cold and miserable. Put a roof up.
So you want every stadium to have a
Yes,
roof?
why? They don't play basketball outdoors.
That's what my wife says, too. She doesn't understand why they don't just have roofs everywhere.
Well,
Why do they
take
play
out the
outdoors
element.
in Buffalo?
You take out the element of the game.
I agree.
I mean,
You don't play baseball in the rain.
Buffalo is an extreme, but you want the feel of outdoors.
I love that, especially
Yeah.
when I'm at home watching from
Isn't
my
it
living
beautiful?
room.
Reminds you of the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
See, he doesn't feel no feelings for Cotton Bowl like me.
Let's play basketball outdoors. And if it rains, so but it rains, right?
That wouldn't be bad, actually.
Or water down the
You grew up
courts.
playing basketball outdoors.
You like those
I
hockey
did,
games
with my gloves on.
You like watching those hockey games outdoors when they play once a year outdoors,
As long
right?
as the weather's okay, yeah. We didn't know nothing about playing.
Brought it back to
indoors
hocky for you there, Savannah.
Yes.
Thanks. That's where I was last night.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Stars scored 5
Man,
goals in the
what got
third
them
period.
into them?
We have, it was 6-3.
After
Come
they,
from behind victory.
after they did this opposite the game before,
Great game though.
giving up a 3-0 lead with 6 goals.
We play the Golden Knights on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
defending champs are in here
And I
on
believe
Wednesday
it's
night.
on national TV too. We get to watch it,
Oh, yeah.
Good.
and I'm going Friday night.
You got a full sports weekend then ahead for yourself.
That's right.
Does Missouri play on Thanksgiving weekend?
Friday,
They got
3
Kansas?
o'clock against
Oh, no.
Kansas. Yeah, those days are done, right? It used to be Arkansas.
Okay, that's their. They play Arkansas.
Yes, at Arkansas.
Okay, so that's their new rivalry game
Right.
in the SEC.
Yeah, you're going to learn about those rivalry
That's right.
games
That's right.
in a hurry.
Yep. And so we're 2 days away from kickoff.
That's right.
At AT&T Stadium. The Washington Commanders and Mike McCarthy was just meeting with the media
And
just
they'll
as we came on the air here.
Practice after that, and very light practices to keep try to get their legs back underneath them in time.
This is a tough
for
time of year for
Washington.
coaches.
How did you treat it? I mean, from a physical standpoint.
It was, you just played ball. It didn't bother me. It just,
Did Tom back off on
Oh
Tuesday
yeah,
and Wednesday?
he was smart. No, we were smart about that. I thought you meant me individually.
Well-
as a team, we were very smart about it. Just as that's never changed around here. We know how to handle the games and that cluster of games in so many days. But I think this is even more confined, isn't it? I don't know if we had to deal with 3 games in 12? Was it?
It was always 3 days in 12, but what this is, it's 4 days in 19 because you got the Thursday game
That's
after the Thursday
4
game.
games.
But that's what I meant.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I didn't say it. Four games in 19 days.
That's the
you know.
difference. We never had to deal with that.
Because you did the 3,
Yeah,
And then you got your break.
and then you
we
got the
our
break.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, if you go back through history, the Cowboys always, if they didn't win on Thanksgiving, they always won after
That's
Thanksgiving.
right. That's right. And December, when we were balling, December was never really a big issue for us. We didn't have a collapse in December like what could have. If you have this unusual schedule, before the holidays.
Well, yesterday in the press conference with Coach, he was saying how this is when the real football starts as you're starting to roll into December. But he said when he gets the schedule when the schedule is released, he already plans out exactly this type of stretch with 4 and 19, what that schedule is going to be for the players. And he mentioned yesterday that rest was key for him, giving some guys a little bit more time to
Did Tom back off
Rest.
practice?
He did back off practice. And I think with my only, along with Mike Downs as well, if you're from the area, kind of hard to get rest. It's just the way it is. If you're born here, thank God for the home games, because we're always playing it at home. But if we had to go on the road for guys like myself and Michael, it might have been better to go on the road because we didn't have to deal with all of that stuff.
You didn't have all that family around
Yeah,
you.
man. Come on, I had to get 23 season tickets every game. So you could imagine, the holidays are always going to be much more, oh my God, hectic.
But those tickets were only $25 a game.
Yeah, they add up. They add up.
You
Now,
got free
I haven't
tickets,
got
though,
paid.
didn't you?
Well,
You're a
your
player.
mind. What's wrong with you, man? I was a free agent still playing. I was undrafted still paying for freaking tickets. And I never got paid back either. That's the way it goes.
I got something for you. I heard today that the amount of the payout for the Rangers after winning the World Series was announced today, or someone reported it today, and it was based on it's what it is in baseball. It's based on ticket sales in the playoffs. So the Rangers have 61 player shares, everyone who basically was on the team at some point during the season, and they are getting over $500,000 per player. Okay.
from ticket sales.
For their winnings for winning the World Series, and it's determined by
shared.
ticket sales, and so
Over the whole
Course of
playoff.
the-
course of the playoffs.
Course of the
okay?
playoffs,
right?
okay.
And so that's the player pool, okay, in baseball, which they have a great union in baseball.
Yes, they do. Marvin Miller.
In fact,
Rest in
the
peace.
Arizona Diamondbacks, each player, they have 71 shares, and they're all getting over $300,000 for their postseason shares. Okay. So when you won the Super Bowl with the Giants, do you remember what your share was?
There was no share. What
did you get from-
You got something.
You got something for winning the Super Bowl, didn't you?
had
You remember what it
always
was?
in your bowl. It was always in your own particular contract. I think
You
we
got
ended up,
something.
I think we ended up getting like 25 G's or something like that.
I mean, you got to have something for each round that you played, right?
Well, it wasn't.
You didn't play for free.
We played under salary.
That was your regular season pay, and then you got something for the postseason.
I think it was like
25 grand.
G's, yeah.
It obviously wasn't enough to be memorable.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
So even the Super Bowl, you didn't get some each round?
Not each round. If I recall, we just got Super Bowl pay.
So it's like if you make it to the
and
playoffs,
it was whatever the
this is what
accumulation
you get.
was.
Yeah.
Because if the season had ended after the first round, you would have got whatever that was.
Yeah.
And then so you got whatever after the
I
Super
think it was
Bowl.
like 25 G's.
Okay.
That's about it. It wasn't very memorable.
How many games do you have to win?
We had
or
to
four.
go
3?
3, yeah, to go all the way.
So a first
19
round,
and 0.
the conference.
You gotta go 19.
Okay.
19, yeah. 16 and 3. And no free agent. I mean, no
Wild card round.
wild card round.
And Tom probably said you should have been glad to be there. In the
Well,
Super
this
Bowl.
was.
Well,
this
that
was,
wasn't.
that was
Parcells would have
Well,
said
yeah,
it.
but we even when we made it in Dallas, we never went
Well, you made it.
wild card. Did we go wild card against the Rams? I believe we went wild card when Dickerson came in and beat us.
Well, you would have won in '89. I mean, 81. Excuse me. You had to
You went to
win
the
because you got to
conference
the
championship.
conference
we didn't do wild card. Is what I'm saying. We
So-
didn't have a wild card.
82, you had the tournament because you
Yeah.
had the shortened season.
Right.
Nate in Frisco says that we got paid per playoff game.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was his.
Yeah, there was
Memory
an
of it.
incremental
It
sum.
wasn't much. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. I'm not lying. It was not much at all. Ask Nate. Of
course,
if you're out there in
of course, your
Frisco,
salary-
give us some dollar bill figures. Give us some figures.
Of course, your salary wasn't much either compared to what today is.
When I was in New York, I mean it was more because
You were a
I
veteran then.
I was a veteran.
Yeah.
But when we were talking 81 and 82. Yeah, I ended up getting a pretty good, but it was all included with it was personal clauses as well. You see what I'm saying? So we had personal clauses that we made. You have make so much money if you go the first round, so much money if you go second round. So that was
you had that in your
that was in your
contract.
personal contract.
Yeah.
And that was normal for pretty much all Cowboys because we were accustomed to going to the
Right.
playoffs at that time. So
But the league
that was almost
the league
considered.
had to pay you something.
Well, like I said, about 25 G's, man.
Okay,
God
all right.
damn, what you want me to say, man? Jeez, man. I'm getting pissed off over here. I feel like Shaq over here with Bob. What's going on?
Okay, so we'll be back with more Mix Shots in just a moment.
40 years later.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, the official roofer of the Dallas Cowboys.
And it looks like Savannah's got a long list of notes there that we need to dive
let's get to it. Let's
while
get
you're
to it.
trying to
Okay.
figure out those payoffs.
We can get to it. Let's see. We'll see what's on the top of my list. We'll start off with Deron Bland.
Okay.
So,
Good one.
as we get into this game against the Commanders on Thursday, I was looking up exactly what Washington was doing in their last game against the Giants. And so Isaiah Simmons from the Giants, he had a pick 6 on Howell. And so I think that could be a good setup, and I'm sure it's something that they're going to start looking at for Bland to potentially break that record. And Howell threw 3 interceptions against the Giants, and he had a total of 6 turnovers. So I'm keeping my eye on their offense and seeing what they're doing. But Howell does not exactly seem like he's standing up for the team
It's
yet.
like with anybody else. If the game's close, you can expect them to make mistakes because, you can feel the pressure. But if you're not putting any pressure on him, and this becomes one of those games, and I always bring up Arizona, then, someone like Howell is going to feel no pressure. And he's going to be out there leading them down the field, up and down the field. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want him to constantly feel pressure from our offense. If we keep scoring, then he's going to have to keep up. And when he has to keep up, that's when he makes all of his mistakes. When he has to keep up when he's playing from behind. But if you give him a cushion, he's one of those guys he's a good front runner. He's a really good front runner.
Well, let's look at against Philadelphia just a few games ago. This was on October 29th. The Commanders lost to Philadelphia, and that was the week before the Cowboys-Eagles game. It was 38-31 was the final score. And Sam Howell in that game was 39 out of 52 for 397 yards and 4 touchdowns, just 1 pick, and he was only sacked 1 time in that game.
Wow.
That was late in the game, I remember.
Against
Against
Philadelphia?
Philadelphia.
Only sacked once against
Only
Philadelphia?
and coming into that game, he had been sacked 41 times the first 7 games of the year, and he only got sacked 1 time against the Eagles in that game.
Dang.
And then the next week at New England, he threw for 325 yards and 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 3 sacks. The following week at Seattle, a 28-25 loss. Is that what it was? Yeah, 29-26 loss. He was 29 out of 44 for 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 3 sacks.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so he's been coming on. And then last week, as Savannah pointed out, 3 interceptions, and they turned it over 6 times, and he was sacked 9 times last week.
So he's got 18 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. But this is kind of amazing. He leads the league in completions with 295. He leads the league in passing yards with 3,038.
Wow.
And he is 3rd in passing first downs with 139. So he's got some pretty good stats, but the interceptions and the yards per completion is only 6.87. So his quarterback rating is 88.6 with his 19th in the NFL.
So their running game is failing them then?
It sounds that way because their running game
They got a big running back there. I think the young man's name is Robinson.
Brian Robinson out of Alabama, 6'1", 225 pounds.
Big running back.
So their offense is ranked 12th, but they're 26th in rushing yards and 10th in passing yards. Their problem seems to be defensively because they're ranked 29th overall defensively.
And they discarded a couple of players recently. Chase Young is now with San Francisco, and Montez Sweat.
Not just a couple of players. Jeez.
And if you look at their scores, 3 of the last 4 games, they've given up 38, 29 and 31. So defensively, they've been struggling.
And so for a catch-up team, Howler's doing very well. You know, he really is in some games, and it seems like they're always playing from behind.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm always that guy. I never feel comfortable with these kind of setup games. You know, we're up here worrying about KC and Philly, and you know, trying to catch these guys, and we got the little Commanders coming up. I don't like that feel. You know.
Well, especially on Thanksgiving too.
Yeah.
Because those games are always kind of wacky sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
So here's the key stat. Bottom line, he's been sacked 51 times for 343 negative yards. 51.
Yeah.
He's still got 7 games to go.
Yeah.
So the NFL record is 76 in a season set by David Carr from the Texans in 2002.
Very good.
Thanks.
Well, that does not. That doesn't make me feel better at all. I was
trying to make you feel better.
Only because you see that it doesn't kill their fire. It doesn't put their fire out.
Right.
You know, they keep coming back. You know, they're not a team. Just because you sack them that many times, the guy still leads the league in passing.
Well,
you know, he still has more completions than anyone else.
It's time to sack them and cause fumbles.
That's what you need to do. And that seemed to happen it was rare this past game that he was able to still have those yards with those amount of turnovers. So the turnovers themselves, as much as we know that he has them, seems like he seems to have them all in bunches. It seems to happen in bunches. So it'd be nice if we can get a bunch.
And I think I misspoke earlier. I said 9 sacks. The Giants quarterback DeVito was sacked 9 times, and Hal was sacked 4 times. So what happened with Washington is they turned it over 6 times, despite sacking DeVito 9 times in that game.
That's unusual for them
Wild.
for this season. For this season, that seems like an unusual stat. Because otherwise, they seem to be pretty productive when it comes to passing the ball. And I guess they're always coming from behind. That's why he's always chunking it so much. He's comfortable there, guys. He's comfortable playing from behind.
See, they figured McLaurin would be their top guy, and he has 56 catches, but he only averages 11.5 yards a catch. And then after that, the averages go way down. The only guy that's got a huge average, 15.3, Pringle. That doesn't ring a bell.
Byron Pringle.
Thank you.
Let's think about this as well. Let's say they're in the comeback situation a lot. They're mostly playing against zone in the comeback situation. Most of the time, the team's going to say, okay, let's sit back in zone because we have maybe a 2-score lead. If we don't get a lead, then we're going to be playing man-to-man a lot.
Right,
So
because that's what they do.
You have to match up with Lauren and see, you know, how that matchup can be. And you have a veteran like that, he can explode at any time. So we need to let the game itself dictate how we play. You know, where are we? Are we behind? Are we ahead? That really does bode on how we approach the game itself.
And I wonder if they go to school on what Carolina did early in the game, because they were blitzing and they were playing zone.
Yeah, it's real soft.
Their DBs were way. I don't know if it's a thing, right? But I don't know if I invented it. Is cover 4 a thing? Because
cover 4
they had everybody across the back, the safeties,
cover 4 isn't easy.
the corners. And at times the corners were 5 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. So that's why they were trying to throw those quick smoke screens, and they couldn't make the one guy miss. Otherwise, you know. Yeah. But they were playing way off, and they
that's
were
why
blitzing.
Dak only threw for 189 yards.
Yes,
Everything's underneath.
You got to take what you can get.
Right, and they were causing pressure too. It was. I know he didn't get sacked. Right, he didn't get sacked in the game.
No, he did not. That's 2 straight games he hasn't been sacked.
But he was getting harassed, sort of like Mahomes last night. He was getting harassed. He didn't have many clean pockets.
One thing I learned about offensive coordinators and quarterbacks, they can't stand not to hit the big play. They just can't stand it. It's like always an itch that they have.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep them short pass. Eventually, they're going to be like, we got to get a big one,
Right.
And that we have to keep them from doing that. We can't let them get the big ones.
Keep everything in front of them.
Keep everything in front. That's the same thing.
See, and that's why
what they do to us.
That's why when teams play that way, you got to run the ball.
You have to run the ball.
Right? Now, they did hit some big runs in the game against Carolina, but from
you have to make them bring the safety down.
Right.
Yeah.
But from a consistency standpoint, they still only average 4.0 yards a rush. Mm-hmm. And you got to be better than that.
Yeah.
So
especially you don't have the safety down.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should take advantage of that.
Get that offensive line going.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line. We saw it last night, right? If your offensive line's not playing well, you're not moving the football. I don't care who's at quarterback. Patrick Mahomes or Tommy DeVito.
Well, I bet they wish they had Tyreek Hill last night.
Well, see, and that gets back to what we were talking about at the outset is, and that's what Kansas City's running into it is because they have to pay so much money to their stars that they're just having to pick up in certain positions whatever they can.
Yeah.
And then it depends on.
And then they hope Mahomes can bring something out of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Throw some left-handed magic in there with the one he threw right.
Yeah, they have to be able to catch the football.
Mm-hmm.
So, even if it's raining.
There you go. Or be able to run the ball enough to where, anyway.
Or put up a roof.
Don't worry, guys. Cowboys got this.
All right.
When we come back, all right, at the beginning of the season, the school of thought seemingly everywhere was that the AFC was so much stronger than the NFC. You look at the number of top teams in the AFC versus what the NFC had. Let's review as we go into Thanksgiving weekend which conference has the stronger teams when we come back here on Mick Shots.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Back to Mick Shots.
'Tis the season for youth football and dance camps presented by Invisalign. Don't miss your chance and learn from the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and former NFL players at AT&T Stadium on December 22nd and 23rd. Celebrate the holidays with the Cowboys. Register today at dallascowboys.com/camps.
Okay, an update on Super Bowl winnings. If you win Super Bowl 57, every member of the team receives $157,000. Okay? You go back in time, Super Bowl 1 through Super Bowl 11, the winning team players got $15,000. The losing team got $7,500 each. Super Bowl, 12 through 16, the winners got $18,000, the losers got $9,000. Super Bowl XVI 17.
Let me see.
17 through 27.
Take away the one.
17 through 27.
17 through 27.
So that
so here we
includes
are.
25.
Okay. Everson, you may not know this, but you got $36,000 for winning the Super Bowl.
Cool.
The Bills got $18,000. And they got $18,000 when they lost to the Cowboys in Super Bowl 27 also.
So how much did Nate get?
Nate would have gotten Super Bowl 27, $36,000, 28, $38,000, and in Super Bowl 30 was $42,000.
And that's just for the Super Bowl. So you
made for the
other two
NFC
games to get
Championship,
there.
whatever that was.
Yeah.
I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
No.
So,
all right, go down your AFC, NFC. rabbit hole.
AFC, NFC. All right, think about when the season began. Everyone was across the country. We were saying how much better the AFC is than the NFC, and most of that preseason stuff is based on quarterbacks.
Right.
Okay, you had Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, so everyone was touting the Jets.
And they are 4-6.
Yeah. All right. The Bengals with Joe Burrow.
They are 5-5.
Okay. Cleveland, a lot of people thinking Deshaun Watson was going to have...
At least they're 7-3.
Yeah, they are right now. But now who do they have at quarterback?
Right.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who, by the way, if you look in the big green notebook, there. All right. And just overall right now, just think of it. We just saw last night, Philadelphia beat Kansas City on the road. If you were just top of your head, top 5 or 6 teams in the NFL, who would you have on your list? Top 5 or 6 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to think Philadelphia's got the best record in the league. Okay,
Detroit,
and where they are right now. I mean,
Ravens.
San Francisco was struggling a few weeks ago, but now they're back on track. They're back being San Francisco again. So I would put San Francisco up there. You got Dallas, you got Detroit, and AFC, Baltimore.
That's what I said.
So
and you got Miami.
Think about it this
and
way:
Kansas City, whatever.
In the AFC, only one team has a better record than the Cowboys, and Baltimore's played one more game. They're 8-3. The other division leaders: Miami 7-3, Jacksonville 7-3, and Kansas City now 7-3.
You know, my pick from the AFC to go to the Super Bowl this year was everybody's pick last year, Buffalo. I thought they would, and they're sitting there at 6-5 right now, and Josh Allen is.
Think about all the people that were on the Jets. Now they didn't know Aaron Rodgers was going to get hurt, but they're 4-6. Maybe the surprise team is Pittsburgh at 6-4.
They just fired
their offensive coordinator today.
Right. Yeah.
The surprise team is Houston at 6-4 with what C.J. Stroud has done the last 3 games, basically.
And there's only 2 teams in the NFC that have a better record than the Cowboys. It's Philadelphia at 9-1 and Detroit at 8-2.
I just was listening to the Giants announcer Bob Papa talk about this, and he had his top 5. He had Philadelphia, San Francisco. He may have put Kansas City in there. 4 of the 5 were NFC teams. He had Dallas and Detroit.
Yeah,
and Baltimore, I think, may have been in there.
I can't remember what I was listening to yesterday, if it was pregame on the radio or something on TV, and they asked whoever the analyst was about the best teams. Oh, it was on radio. And the guy listed about 4 or 5 teams, and finally the host goes, well, what about Dallas? He didn't include him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, all right.
What about Cincinnati?
And then they got into a discussion.
In Cincinnati losing Burrow, that changes the whole complexion of that team. Yeah, he's out for the year. The risk.
It's crazy.
And that's the thing when you look even just at the NFC. Team I hadn't mentioned. How about what Denver's doing right now? They're the hottest team in the league right now. Russell Wilson is. I mean, you look at
Sean Payton.
Here's a team that they got beat 70.
Like, thank God, you guys.
This is a team that got beat 70-20 6 weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah, they were getting dumped on.
And now they've won 4 in a row.
4 in a row after that, right?
Mm-hmm. And with wins over Kansas City. And,
top teams.
Yeah, right.
Top teams.
Right,
yeah.
and beat Minnesota had won 5 in a row, and they beat them the other day. So
that takes some good coaching. I must admit that does take some good coaching. You get 70 points put on you. What do you do after that? How do you even come to work after that?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to tell you what happened until the computer messed up here.
Oh, you got to sign in now?
I was going to tell you what Denver did.
Sign in again.
Yeah, that'll take forever.
What was it about? Kind of.
No, I was going
to
to tell you what Denver did defensively after giving up 70 some points. They actually played pretty well defensively.
They've been playing pretty well defensively ever since Nathaniel Hackett came to town, who's the offensive coordinator of the Jets now. That was the payback game for those comments. That's right.
Over there, yeah.
Right. So Sean Payton has taken the worst coach team in the history of football and done wonders with them the last month. Ever since the worst coach of the history of football put 31 on him in early October.
And who's he with? Hackett?
Hackett's with the Jets.
Okay.
So that was with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Where are we then?
That lit a fire under Sean Payton. He was like, let's roll.
Hackett's over there quiet now, huh?
Uh-huh. And so even the next week they lost to Kansas City, but they only gave up 19 points to the Chiefs that week. They lost 19-8, the Broncos.
Yeah.
And then they beat Green Bay 19-17, and then they beat Kansas City 24-9. They win at Buffalo, and they beat Minnesota, and now they got Cleveland and at Houston coming up on their schedule.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Sean Payton must be a pretty good coach.
Must be, yeah.
So
you don't judge it by what happens in September either.
And not even now. You can't judge them by what's going on now. It's still a lot of stuff going to happen.
Yeah, we sit here before Thanksgiving, or I'm sitting here touting the NFC teams, and okay, let's see at Christmas what we're saying.
Right. It'll be a totally different story.
Uh-huh.
Well, as Bill Parcells used to say, check with me after Thanksgiving, and I'll tell you where I think my team is.
That's kind of what Mike McCarthy, I guess, was saying yesterday.
Exactly.
Savannah,
He said the real football starts now into
no.
December.
Yeah, no.
And the Cowboys aren't going to get respect, regular season respect even, until Philadelphia comes here December 10th.
Until they beat a team with a winning record.
See how they do against Philadelphia. And then that
Seattle, Buffalo, Detroit.
Detroit.
That is on my radar already.
Mine too, Savannah. I do not trust them. I love Campbell. I mean, he's the kind of guy that, he gets the most out of his players. No one thought that, what's the quarterback's name?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff. No one thought that guy would show the kind of cojones that he's showing right now.
Everybody forgets he was a first-round draft choice,
and
right?
he
got to the Super Bowl, right?
That's right.
I mean, but something happened. He started to diminish, and now he's not. So it's just like the 70-0. Sean Payton was able to get those guys back on track. Campbell was able to get Goff back on track. And that's hard to do when he was Detroit. I'm going to Detroit? Yes, you're going to Detroit. Oh, okay.
How about that? That's a trade that worked out for both teams.
It did.
Because the Rams got Stafford. And one of the reasons that Goff was let go by the Rams is he's now 4 or 5 years in the league, where now you got to pay him a whole lot of money to be what he was.
Well, hell, they paid a whole bunch of money to get that Super Bowl team.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of another Sean who's doing a pretty good coaching job, Sean McVay with the Rams this year is doing a pretty good coaching job with what they have, the talent that they have on their roster right now.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, the amazing thing with Detroit is how they're playing offensively. I mean, they're scoring a bunch of points.
They have a lot of talent on that offense.
When they've gotten beat, the defenses let them down. Like, make sure I had they got beat 38-6 by Baltimore. And where's their other?
Baltimore's done that a couple of times.
But that's not Detroit. That was an aberration.
And then
to
Seattle, they got beat 37-31. But they beat Kansas City in the season opener, 21-20.
That was not a fluke.
Right?
That was not a fluke.
So,
and then just last week, they're trailing Chicago with 3 minutes left in the game, and they come back and win that game. They're down double figures to Chicago,
right,
and come back and win that game.
Now, you could say Chicago, but those rivals.
But that says a lot about a team when they can come
rivals,
back in the last 3 minutes and win a game like that. All right. We're going to take a deeper dive into Washington tomorrow. If you want to.
Do we have to do picks and picks to clicks?
Yeah, yep, that's right.
Yeah, we do have
and a pod pick, too.
That's right. So that's ahead tomorrow at noon here on Mick Shots.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?